How's the family? Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hopefully you guys are having an awesome day. Today's subject matter I will be talking about an article that I read the other day, and it's in regards to the retail industry. And the name of the article is Inside the Hectic Last Days of Jamboree Retail Bankruptcy. Now, we all know a lot of people are out of work due to the retail industry changing, everything going mostly online unless people are shopping in the stores. But the article really delves into another aspect of it, the retail industry, to the people who are the upper crest of the retail business. So it's very interesting all at the same time. The article engages in the life of a person named Mara Chung, who had a 30-year career in the retail industry as a vice president of design for Crazy 8 division of Jamboree. And the individual, she was called into her CEO and HR chief's office, and they gave her some bad news. And the crazy thing is she was actually expecting this bad news. But here's the kicker, is that company was filing for bankruptcy like a lot of other major retail businesses are doing. But the company was going to liquidate two of the company's three brands, including Crazy 8, which Mrs. Chung already knew that was going to go away eventually. But the bomb was really dropped on Mrs. Chung by the HR director when the HR director stated that the company had to terminate the severance package plan. Now, for me, it was very interesting because I remember from my mother's generation hearing about the severance package plan, but I know my generation, it never existed with major corporations. Maybe some still do practice this, but I thought after the 60s, 70s, and 80s, severance packages were a thing of the past. So with that being said, it's usually like when you get laid off, you're laid off. And if you're lucky, if you have any vacation saved up, they'll cash that out to you, and that could maybe give you a little bit more time for you to look for another job. But, my mindset is, whether you're working for the private sector or the public sector, always have your resume refreshed and looking for another job. That's one aspect. And then obviously my other favorite aspect is to have other backup plans, because the job, especially nowadays, can dry up at a moment's notice, and the hustle never stops, even when you're rich. Because that's the funny thing most people don't really talk about. Rich people, and I'm talking people who make millions of dollars, billions of dollars, people who fall in that category, they're always looking for the next best deal. So if they're always on the hunt and they're already taken care of financially, in the sense to where if they haven't done so, they can pay off their mortgages, they don't have car notes, they don't have student loan debts, they're not worried about their kids' colleges, and if there's a medical emergency, they're not worried about these things. All the day-to-day stuff that working people are worried about, they're not worried about that kind of stuff. They're worried about how good their stocks are doing and their businesses are doing, and how they can continuously create more wealth for their businesses, no matter what aspect of wealth you might think of. So that's the mindset of a rich person. No matter how rich they are, millions and billions categories, the hundreds of thousands of dollars category, the mindset is, what's the next best deal for me to get? And the mindset of a lot of a worker, unfortunately, is, how can I get a raise, and how can I get a promotion, instead of how can I create something that can cash flow and partner up with people so we can create things that can cash flow. That's the difference between a worker and a owner. But that's just my personal opinion. I'll leave it at that. Back to the story at hand, because this, unfortunately, the crumbling retail industry is hurting a lot of people. It's affecting a lot of people. That's why I make these videos, because I want people to start thinking and living. Starts with the mind first, but then the implementation part is the hardest part, and living outside of the box. So that's just the best way for me to say that. So back to the story at hand. So the company's severance plan was the key reason why Mrs. Chung and her friends moved to the Jamboree side of the company when they from Old Navy, and they did this 5 years earlier. Now, we all know that numerous parts of the retail industry, like I said earlier, are suffering from rapid bankruptcies, store closures around the world, not just the United States, but around the world. And according to the article, lots of this is stemming from private equity firms busting out otherwise profitable companies. Major malls are becoming more and more empty across the United States of America. Can't speak for other parts of the world, but I've seen it with my own eyes, not just reading it, but I've seen it. A lot of the major malls are shrinking. or just dying out altogether. And it's just because of the online e-commerce revolution we live in, I just don't see the clock turning back anytime soon on that. So it's unfortunate. But Chung, who is a single parent and she is caring for an elderly father, was very affected by this, not getting the severance plan. Because the whole point of Mrs. Chung going to Jamboree was because she knew that she was going to get a year's worth of salary if the company ever went belly up. And then obviously that could put her in good standing and give her enough time to look for another job and do what she has to do, and, and maintain her lifestyle and all that good stuff, With that being said, Mrs. Chung asked her leadership about them keeping the severance payouts plans. And her leadership stated there just wasn't enough money for it. Now, in a lot of situations, this is not uncommon for a lot of people. This happens, But the thing is, and the thing I can say with sincerity, is that when Mrs. Chung, her situation is very different. That's why I actually made this video in regards to the subject matter. So, Mrs. Chung said to her leadership, and I give her a lot of credit, that she obtained information which she would share with the U.S. Bankruptcy Trustees organization overseeing a case that a few executives would leave Jamboree with a severance package. So essentially, her leadership was lying to her. Cutting to the chase, her leadership lied to her, and they paid out other employees, and all employees who received the severance packages, their job titles were equivalent to Mrs. Chung's position. So I can understand her outrage in regards to this. Moral of the story is that she insulted 17 attorneys in regards to this legal issue because she was seeking legal recourse for her full severance. And I give her a lot of credit in that situation. The company Jamboree was founded in 1976, and on its way in history, it was a place for a lot of great retail items to be sold and whatnot. And a place called Children's Place, which was a rival retailer, paid $76 million for the rights to Jamboree and the Crazy 8 brands. And the Gap was purchasing Jamboree's 139 luxury chain stores, and it's interesting. But the whole severance maneuver that Chung was alleged reveals that it basically, in corporate America, the winners at the top, which usually is, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's what the U.S. economy is, winners and losers, right? That's the system. Can win even in failure. And nobody else is safe. Certainly not the line level workers, and not even the vice presidents like Mara Chung. And that's the thing to really take away from. No matter how high to the top you get, you're always in a vulnerable position to be taken out. And there's nothing. And you can end up like, obviously, the people you see in the pictures, out of work. Nothing funny about it. It can happen to you no matter what your salary is, no matter how many degrees you have, certifications you have. If you don't own it, you're always in jeopardy of being fired, let go, or, whole nine. That's just the world we live in. So, moreover, Mrs. Chung's alleged to the trustee organization, a bankruptcy organization, that Jamboree underreported the extent of the retention bonus payments and filing with the bankruptcy court. And in that filing, Jamboree acknowledges discretionary bonus payments of $270,000 to employees, but Chung asserts that 8 executives received bonuses totaling an estimated $2.1 million. So she stated even the Goldman Sachs of the world are going to do whatever they want. This is true. That's what the system's based off of, the well-to-do. While the firing didn't leave her destitute, the combination of an uncertain future in retail and the need to care for her father makes things far more treacherous than it would have been with the severance. And I totally understand that. And Ms. Chung, she worries about fellow creative directors who are unaccustomed to this nonsense and not knowing the risks of losing their safety net if business goes under. And she wants people to know what was done to her. And at the end of the day, there is no such thing as a safety net. This is the only safety net I see out there. And the only reason why I say you treat a business like you treat your home. Most reasonable people, if they own a home, they're going to take care of it. Even people that rent places do their best to, reasonable people, they take care of it. But if you own a home, reasonable people that own a car, you're going to take care of it, because if you don't, eventually that car is going to give out on you. So you got to look at your house in the same manner. If you don't take care of your house is going to give up on you. So it's the same thing with a business. If you don't take care of your business, and your business could be a various amount of things. It doesn't have to be a storefront or a restaurant or anything of that nature. However, you need to be able to put yourself in a position where you're taking care of something that's cash flowing somehow, some way, whether it's an internet business, whether it's a rental property, whatever have you. Be an investor in some sort of a restaurant or some sort, something that's a cash producing that can at least replace your job from a financial standpoint. I'm not talking about the joy that you get from working at your job, because a lot of people do find a lot of joy working in their job, and I think that's awesome. I'm not crapping on that. What I am saying is you have to have something that says, hey, I'm going to be okay. So if I just want to volunteer at a church, or if I just want to volunteer at a shelter, or if I just want to mentor children who need guides in regards to career or entrepreneurship, then I have that time to do that. And I have something or some things, a couple of things that are actually going to take care of me from a financial standpoint. And that's the real point that I drive hard with this Larry's Anything Goes financial intelligence movement. If you're not around people that are talking about these certain things, and I'm talking my generation, I'm not talking about people who are retired or who are going to retire. I'm talking about millennials, younger generation people. Do not spend all of your time focusing on things that do not produce money. There's so many people out here that have all this useless information that they utilize on a daily basis that's not getting them anywhere, but it is entertaining them, and I never understand that, and I'll never get it. But that's just my personal opinion on that one. So we all need to think and live outside of the box, and this article goes to show, even if you have all the education, even if you have the high-paying job, even if you're a VP at a corporation or anywhere, that it could be taken away from you. It's just what it is, and it's just the reality of what it is. And I always say, don't pay attention and worry about who the president is and the congressman is and the mayor and the governor is. You need to be finding out what's going on in your company, because whether you have a legal licensed corporation or not, if you live in a home and you are the one majority paying the rent or the mortgage, and you are the CEO of that home, you are the CEO of your own life, whether you want that responsibility or not. Especially if you're a parent. Hey, every family is supposed to people have their different roles. I see that in the immigrant communities all the time. You got the presidents, vice presidents, senior executives, and that could be from the mom, the father, the big sister, the big brother, little sister, little brother, etc. The grandmother, grandfather, the uncle, cousin, whomever. They all play a specific role in that household to ensure the prosperity of that family from an educational standpoint, sometimes a spiritual standpoint, and definitely a financial standpoint. So this story goes to show, even if you're at the top of the company, you'll always be in jeopardy of losing everything. Always, always, always have a backup plan in this life, because if you do not, your life will plan you instead of you planning it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you found any value, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. Hope you guys have a great week, and keep pushing, keep striving, because you only have one life, and there's no time to waste. We all got to start living this life now as soon as possible. So take care.